with people going live. So, hey,
Oh
we're
no,
live.
there's a
uh,
ton of people.
yeah, I think there's like three of us going on at the same time right now. So,
Yeah, and
but
I saw
it
Scotty just went live too.
yeah, it is what it is. I mean,
Yeah,
I've always when I started doing these lives, my honest intention was to be more of a replay format. That's 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 what I when I started doing this because I knew I wasn't going to have a set date like a lot of these other people. My idea was okay, I'll get these in where it fits in with me and my guest. And the idea is we'll record it because that's what it's doing now. And then people can watch it at replay at the leisure. And obviously understanding that look, my channel is not very big. And I
yeah,
know there's other bigger channels out there that people want to watch. So I didn't have a problem with it. I've always been very realistic with myself that I know, there's other people that they rather watch. So that's fine. That's great.
yeah,
But I've been very fortunate that I do get a lot of replays. I do end up getting the replays that I thought I would get. So, and I hear a lot of people like to watch these when they're doing stuff, other stuff, and it's just kind of
yeah.
like background noise.
Oh
And
yeah, definitely.
and a lot of people have also told me it's kind of like they listen to it kind of like a podcast, although it's on video. I there's one guy um, that always tells me he goes, I'll bank yours up, I'll let them pile up because he
Hmm.
does a lot of editing. He goes, and when I start working, I'll just play them. He goes, and I'll listen to them, and I'm listening to them, but I'm also doing what I need to do.
Yeah.
So, and it also kind of because for me, it's like today I was all mixed up. For some reason, I thought today was Tuesday. I don't know where I lost Monday in the
Yeah.
process, and I was sure when I got up this morning that it was. And then I was getting ready to go to work, and my boss calls me up and he goes, "Hey, do you mind doing 4 hours of overtime on Tuesday?" And I was thinking, "Oh yeah, well, that's weird. Why do you say Tuesday? It's today's Tuesday." In my mind, right? So
Right.
I'm getting ready. I sent you the text early in the morning. That's why I sent it out to you so early. Was because I wanted to make sure that I gave you plenty of heads up.
Yeah.
And I packed my lunch for thinking I was going to work a 12-hour shift.
Right.
And I get into the office and I'm doing all my this thing, and then I make the comment to one of the guys. I go, "Shit, I think I'm going to be here for 12 hours today." And he goes, "Oh, you got today also?" I said, "What do you mean today also?" He goes, "Well, it's on the schedule." He goes, "Yeah, but that's tomorrow, Tuesday." And today is Tuesday. He goes, "No, you idiot.
Right.
Today is Monday." And I was like,
Yeah.
"Oh shit." So I had to scramble, and that's why I sent you that other text and said, "Hey, forget about what I said.
Yeah.
I am
No, that's
off
no
by a day."
problem. I
And
had I pretty much blocked the day out. My wife was off work too, so it was sort of a time for her and I outside of the weekend, to be together. That's why I cooked up some steaks today and for the holiday too. But no, whatever happened happened. The rest of the week, I've got doctor's appointments and stuff,
yeah.
so I'm
Well,
good.
and I know you said you would block off the day. That's why I was trying to get to you as early as possible, so that
Yeah,
if you had done that, you wouldn't lose a day. Because I hate, time is the one thing we can't get back. That's the,
yeah,
we
but
can get money back, we can get others, we can get our health
yeah.
back, but time is the one thing that once it's gone, it's gone. That's it.
I
There's no
had a
more.
boss. I had a boss, and that was his saying. It was because I retired from UPS, and that
Mm.
was his saying. The wheels aren't rolling. What do you say? Wheels aren't rolling. Your feet aren't moving. You're losing time, son. Come on. And time you can't get back. That was his saying. George Bodner. I'll still remember his name. He was the best boss I've ever had in my life, and he was just if things were really going, you know, like a bunch of call-ins or something. He didn't have to. He'd put his brown uniform on, and they would say, "Take this off this truck. Take this off this truck," and he'd take what they call splits off of several trucks to try and lighten up, the driver's loads, and he would go out there and run them. And he didn't have to do that. I mean, he's worked beyond that. He didn't have to put that brown uniform on anymore. But I respect that man a lot. Respect him a lot.
Yeah, that's what my daughter does, and she's a similar thing. She I guess schedules all the routes, but
Yeah,
there's times where she's gotta be out there just because
yeah,
there's so much to do, and especially when a driver, because some routes will have more than others,
yeah,
and she'll find out, like 6 hours into the shift or whatever, and she'll find out where they're at. Is like, how's it looking? And it's like, nah, it's still neat. So she'll get in a truck and go up there and pick up.
yeah.
They split the load, and she'll help them deliver.
Yeah, well, UPS, what they do, because you didn't know it till the morning. You had supervisors on the belt. You had driver supervisors. You had belt supervisors, and you didn't know a route was going to blow out until that morning. And then the loaders would have some sort of a idea of a stop count. It's supposed to be pretty accurate, but it never was. And you got packages flying down that, coming down those conveyor belts and all that. Sometimes you get mixed up. Duplicate addresses and what have you. So I'm not taking anything away from their job, because I'm sure at some time, when at the heat of the moment, it gets tough. But so anyhow, if a route was to blow out, that's what they would do. They put in a split car, and they would take pieces off several different adjoining routes and put it in this split car,
Yeah.
and someone would take it out. Gabriel, what's up, Gabriel?
Right. Let's before we get going, let's welcome the people that are joining us this afternoon. Um, the first one in was Craig's Catfish and Caves. Craig, thank you for being in here. MNC Aquatics, Mike, thank you for joining us. Uncle Smiley Aquarium, Smiley, thanks for being here with us. Fish Nerds, thank you for being here with us. Lake Missoula Aquatic Plants, Ben, thank you for joining us. uh, CRP or CR Fish.
Right.
Cheryl, thank you for being here with us. It's Aquatic Exotics. Ed, thank you so much for joining us. Um, Empire of Dirt, Jeff Kane, thank you for being here. And GNC Aquatics, Gabriel. And I think and just coming in, Salem Aquatics, Jesse, thank you so much for joining us today. Marco, thank you for being here. Um, so yeah, like I said, it's just my whole intention of this, and also because I work, we wrote, we work rotating schedules, and where I work at, we have to man our stations 24/7. There is no like today's a holiday, but we're working. There, we have to have bodies in the seats, and but it's just one of those things where you just got to man it. It's just when you sign up for this job, you know what you're signing up for.
Right.
So knowing that, it was kind of like, well, I can't pick like every Tuesday or every Thursday or whatever as a date. I got to work it around when I'm available.
Right.
Because there'll be times like today I work mornings, so the afternoons are free for me. So I'll do
Right.
stuff in the afternoons. Uh, on Wednesday, or I think Wednesday I'm gonna have to go in, which is my day off, but I'll have to go in and I'll be doing graveyards. So more than likely, late afternoon, early evening is when I can do live streams, and
Mm.
and vice versa. So when I work swings, while the morning opens up for me, and it's been sort of a blessing because it's allowed me a lot more access to people from different parts of the world.
Right.
Because whereas a lot of people, if they're doing an evening, for example, you're on the East Coast, and right now it's 7 o'clock your time. Well, maybe if you wanted to talk to somebody that is from England, it could be like 4 o'clock in the morning,
Right.
and it's not gonna. You're not gonna be able to find a time either unless that person is willing to either get up early or stay up late to have that conversation. I've seen that happen where that kind of happens. Well, I've been very fortunate that because of that flexibility that I have, eventually we'll find a time where I'm going to be up anyways. And for them, it's either early in the morning where they're free, or it's in the afternoon where they can do it. And that's worked out really, really well for me. And also, it seems like the people that like watching the stream are very understanding, and they know what the deal is. And a lot of them will come in and say hi. And if they have somebody else that's going on at the same time that I'm going and they want to go watch them, that's fine. They know that they came in, said hi, and then they'll watch the replay and they'll let me know. There's so many people that have, hey, replay crew, they'll put in the comments when they're watching it, which I
Right.
really appreciate. It really does help my channel too, because now all of a sudden we were just talking about that, the algorithm. Well, they're noticing, okay, even though people didn't watch the live, they're coming back to watch the replay, and that's helped my channel tremendously. And I
Yeah.
really appreciate that from the people. But um, with that being said, now that we've kind of made a little bit of time, if you wouldn't mind introducing yourself and telling us a little bit about yourself before we really get going.
Sure. Trying to read these comments too. I see Gabriel. I see my name, so I had to be
Mm,
here any chance I get to see you, Lance. It's beautiful.
Lad's beautiful face.
So I came from the barbecue community. I
Mm-hmm.
started this years ago. We started out a while back. We started out with a few guys. Actually, it was four of us. And when I started the channel, to be honest with you, some people are going to probably say it's silly sounding, but I never really, I've heard of YouTube, knew about YouTube, but never watched YouTube. It was just one of those things that I just couldn't get into. And then all of a sudden I started seeing different variety of things that was on YouTube. And I was like, hey, this stuff isn't as bad as everybody says it is. Everybody says it's some people you talk to say that it's just it's a place where people land that can't make it in life. And I was like, well, that's just not very fair. I said, so I started watching it, and I don't see that at all. I mean, there's probably, I'd be lying if I said I didn't see anybody like that. I was like, God, they need to get it together. They're getting older, um, but anyhow, so I just started watching YouTube, and I was like, man, I could get into this. And then this all goes back. I tell this story. I can't tell you how many times I've told this story, but this is the truth. When I was driving for UPS, I had a little Oklahoma Joe offset on the back porch, and I was just destroying proteins left and right, meats, whatever they
Yeah.
were. I was just destroying them. Couldn't cook, so I just gave up. And I went to a Second Amendment convention because I'm pretty big with the Second Amendment. I believe it's our right, our God-given right, and we won't go any deeper than that. But anyhow, I went to a meeting and a cookout, and this guy cooked a brisket. And you hear people say something about melt in your mouth. This was the true meaning of melt in your mouth. This brisket was just the best brisket I've ever had, even to this day. And I walked up to the guy. I said, "Man," I said, "I have such an interest in cooking." I said, "But I just destroy stuff." So he told me to start watching this channel called Smoky Ribs Barbecue out of Mississippi. So I started following it. And I started cooking, and he was doing all these videos. And I was like, you know, I had this thing where I wanted to this goal in my life. I was going to retire twice, have two retirements, and somewhere along the line there was going to be something that was put up in my memory, something that I did that could help other people. And so sort of like, Lance made it famous. Well, none of that stuff happened. I tried, didn't happen. Back surgeries, knee surgeries. So I said, I could do this barbecue thing. I said that way, my grandchildren, my children, family could always go in there and see Lance. And so I started making videos, and we created this thing called the Goodfellas, which uh, started falling apart. People were younger than me. They still had family time. They still need it, and I understand. So it pretty much broke up. There's still one guy. It's called the Mexican and the Gringo. Is what we changed the name to. Um, I'm the Gringo. In case you couldn't tell, my pale complexion. But so that went on. It's been going on for 4 years. We have a pretty much Simon. Yes, I can barbecue.
Mm.
He is pretty much a permanent. fixture right now. He's supposed to have been a fill-in for Jorge. Jorge went through a divorce. He's found love again, so he's like no hurry to get back in there, but he stays in touch. But he's just no hurry to commit, to cooking and doing videos and editing and going live on Sundays. And I totally get it. The seat will always be there for him. But so I still got it going for 4 years. And I just started searching around. I was like, God, I just, barbecue's just dying for me. I'm just stuck at 1,000 subs. Actually, it was a little more than that. But everybody says, you need to spread yourself out, go into other communities, meet other people. So I have a hobby of tying fish flies. So that's over there. And I went to some of them things, and I really wasn't real happy with being over there. And I just stumbled across the fish tank one day, and someone doing it was aquascape, and it was Joanna from Primetime
Mm.
Aquatics. I saw her aquascaping, her and Shelby Lynn um, from Garden of Eden. And I saw him and said, wow, because I've always had that little artsy side of me. When I was in school, I took auto body. I like painting cars. I like restoring antiques. I like making things, doing things. And so I started watching this guy.
Oh, he's flying.
He's flying.
He is flying.
Yeah. So the police have been after him so many times, but they scare him and then he comes right back. But anyhow, so I was like, I used to have fish tanks, as a teenager. And after we got married, had a family, we had fish tanks. And when I met my wife, the first time I ever went into the basement of her dad's house, he had two walls of just stacked cinder blocks and 2x of fish tanks on the walls, just stacked up just above your head a little bit. And he raised and bred and sold guppies many, many years ago. So I said, wow, this is pretty cool. So just having, I was like watching more videos. It's like, I should put out some videos. Why I'm not, these guys are having fun. I want to have fun too. So I started going to all these different fish communities. And next thing I know, everything I own in here pretty much is probably 80% used. I buy used off of um, what's it, a marketplace or something like that, and I just put it together, fix it up because I like working on things, and I started doing that aquascaping stuff because I knew I would enjoy that, but I can't figure out how to keep my arms and stuff out of the picture frame when I'm videoing. So um, I still do some of it, but not as much as I planned on doing. But that's really about it. Just keep busy doing side work because I like to stay busy. And I got to have money for the fish hobby now, so make pocket money for that. But I got to keep up with Gabriel.
So when you decided to start your barbecue channel, how did that come about? At what point did you say, "Hey, I want to document this"?
Well, I felt like after a while, after watching Russ Jones and Smoky Ribs Barbecue, I felt like I turned the corner. Um, I was sort of like, wow, this turned out pretty daggone good. This is some of the best pulled pork I've ever done. And I start different methods of ribs, pork ribs. I'm not really a big beef rib person. I'll eat them, but if I'm going to take the time to cook them and stuff, I want a pork rib. And hanging pork ribs is the way to go, in my opinion. Self-basting. When I start really getting, I'll pat myself on the back. I'll say good at it. Where I was getting compliments from people. I was like, I'll start doing. Why can't I do videos like Russ and them do? So we start putting out videos, and the little guys just weren't getting recognition, and that's when we started out the Goodfellas. We wanted to do a bunch of collaborations with other small barbecue channels to get ourselves out there, to help push ourselves out there. And I even got into there was another guy who's smoking pit barbecue, Joe's smoke. he created a group for the YouTube barbecue cook-off thing, and I actually was accepted into that. I say accepted, it wasn't like I applied, but I was one of the people that said, "Yeah, I like to do that." And before he ran out of space, but we started cooking in that, and I started getting more recognition, and so were the other two guys. The other two guys are in. There's several guys in there. One of the guys is the cancer fundraiser we're doing
Yeah.
for Rick. He was in that competition, and two of the other good fellows was in there in the competition, and so I think I made it to third in that event. So I was pretty proud of it, but just started putting out videos and doing lives. What's up, legends? So we want to, help out the small guy doing collaborations, and I started, when I felt like I could, when I got beyond that camera shy thing, I just like, I'm going to do this. I want, this is my one time to leave that monument, about me, you know, that my children and grandchildren and family can go back and look at for as long as YouTube's, available. So I started making videos and started enjoying it and getting criticized left and right, and I just kept pushing it. I hoped to have been, a whole lot further than I am right now. I'm just at 4 years, I think 4 years in, and I've got 1,400 subs, and I'm very grateful. Don't get me wrong, I'm very grateful for the ones I have, but I was really sort of kind of hoping that, I would have broke 2,000 by now, but I'm where I'm at.
Is the barbecue niche? Is it a pretty big community, or is it even smaller than the fish community?
No, it's huge, because it's not only barbecue; it's cooking in general.
Hmm.
So we all fall under the same category. And I keep referring to this guy, Russ Jones, of Smoky Ribs Barbecue. Y'all want to see some videos? Go check out Smoky Ribs Barbecue. Thank you, Jorge, for allowing me to do that. Or I guess I didn't ask though, did I? But
Oh no, no, that's fine. No, look, I'm gonna tell you right now. Anything anything's on the table. I know that you wanted to talk a little bit about that fundraiser that you're doing. That you can do that whenever you want. You can talk about any channels because at the end of the day, most of us have been inspired by some of these channels that we started
yeah,
out watching. It's impossible. None of us got here to this point without watching somebody else do it first. That
yeah,
and it doesn't have to be in this field. It could be in whatever niche or industry they're in. But after watching them, that's where we get the inspiration or maybe the motivation to say, you know what, I can do that too. So I'm going to try it. And
yeah.
so yeah, these people need to be recognized because there are the shoulders that we're standing on. I understand that totally.
100%. That's spot on. And I've always leaned on him, and Russ has always been willing to, to help people. And he comes on my lives on Sundays when we go live on Sundays. He'll pop in there. Matter of fact, he's actually making a transition. But let me back up a little bit. So we talked about is the barbecue cooking community crowded? So talking with him, he's told me point blank that when he first made it over 12 years ago, when he started doing videos, there was no competition. It was so much easier. Your videos got tremendous views because there wasn't that many barbecue people out there. I mean, there was, but not like the thousands of cooks that there is now on YouTube channels, on a YouTube channel, YouTube. And he said that it was just a whole lot easier. So it's going to be harder for me to do and to get in there. Don't get discouraged. Don't get wrapped up in the numbers. Just keep going. Do what you can do. You're going to have people criticize you, and you can either take it with a grain of salt, walk away with something from it, or you know, mostly just don't let it get to you. And so I've pretty much listened to everything he's had to say. I've put spins on things just because I think something might work, better for me. But yeah, the barbecue community is just flooded. I mean, so flooded. Where this gentleman we're talking about, Russ Jones, he's actually um, he's actually going to give it up. He's walking away from the barbecue stuff. He's right now transitioning. His son used to be his camera guy for years.
Mm.
He was making that kind of money from YouTube, and because he also had a Facebook channel that was making great money too. I mean, he showed me the checks that he was getting. He was doing well between the two of them, and he could afford to pay his son a salary. But you know, and I don't like trashing anybody. Well, you and I sort of kind of talked a little bit briefly about our format, and he said that they've made enough changes to it where you can't possibly make a living at it anymore. They've made cutbacks. He doesn't feel like the same type of videos that you were getting just don't get recognized as they used to. He doesn't know what to do to turn it around, so he's actually turning it over to his son. His son will continue the channel. That actually just happened last week. Um, this coming Sunday, I'm going to have them both on my live, or on our live, not my live, but and sort of kind of get the word out there. Not that we have a decent little following. We probably had 30 people on the weekends watching the live, but hopefully maybe he'll even put out a little community post or something for his channel because he's got 300,000 subs, I think it is, something like that. So, but so we'll see. I hate to see him walk away from it. Actually, what I'd like to see him do, and I was going to say something to you when you were talking about, you have no set time. So some people have gone into like a podcast type thing where they pre-record stuff and then they'll just schedule it so you could be at work,
Mhm.
and you have a podcast that's going live, as a premiere video, whatever you want to call it. But that's what I was trying to talk him into because he's got so much knowledge. He's done so many different cooks and stuff. I just hate to see him walk away totally, and I'll miss him, But he said he's still going to come on my lives occasionally. But he has another channel that was called DIY. God, what is it? DIY. I just watched a video this morning of plasma cutter. Um, I can't remember it right now, but he has a channel where he just sort of kind of tinkers around with automobiles and stuff and shows you how to work on them, and that's where he really wants to do. He just wants to enjoy his life. He's older than I am by 2 months. We ride each other left and right because of that. He's actually 2 months older than I, but we just make a joke out of it every time. But I guess I'm rambling on now.
That's fine. You can ramble. Just give me a second because I usually what I like to do on my channel, I like to kind of moderate everybody that comes in, and
Yeah,
this is something that I've gotten from one of our community members, Father Fish,
yeah, Ed.
because it allows you to check out other people that you might not know who they are. I'm always curious when I get
Yeah,
an opportunity. When I see it, I'm so used to doing this on here with what is this doing? I'm already subscribed. I don't. Okay, I'm trying to speak and and do things at the same time. I can't multitask apparently. Oh, but it allows you to just find new channels. It's
yeah.
sometimes what I've been finding out that if I don't do that and you're trying to find somebody, you could type their channel name in there and they might not come up because they don't have a lot of subscribers.
Right.
And or it's too similar to other ones that are out there and you'll get a bunch of them and you just can't find the individual. But by giving them the wrench, it allows them to click on their name and it'll take you to their channel directly. And then from there, you can make the choice whether you want to subscribe or not. But
That's what I.
that's the way. Sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead. My phone's blowing up. I'm trying to make sure I'm not getting the message I should be seeing. I told you about my, might as well let it
Yeah.
out. I'm a new grandfather as of yesterday, so I'm not that it's been born. It'll be a Christmas baby, but
Hmm.
I like. I just make sure I'm not. I'm in the grandfather mode, and I
Yeah.
also
You want to
wanted
make
to see that Russ's other channel is called Skill Savvy DIY.
okay. Skill side.
But
Okay.
yeah, I just want to make sure I'm not getting a message from her because I just I asked her a couple of questions earlier, like can I tell it such and such? Because I want her to be able to enjoy, the thrill of that also to be able to, tell people, it's not I'm not having the baby, she's the one having the baby. So
Yeah.
if I could, I see Craig's Catfish Cave. Craig, have you gotten the water out of your residence? His residence flooded for days.
Oh man, I didn't know that.
Yep, and I'm trying to find out. And his wife, I don't know, she cut her hand open trying to bail out water, or it has. Okay, I saw him in the chat. I wanted to make sure I got some recognition and followed up with him. It's been a few days. Uh, it didn't
Oh, he
come.
didn't come
Oh,
into their
it
place. He
come in
said.
your place. Okay, okay. So I got that
Now that
behind me.
that is the one thing I don't have to worry about where I live.
Yeah,
Out here in the desert, we seldom don't get a lot of rain, and I'm very fortunate that our house is up high,
yeah,
so it would have to be a serious rain. I mean, kind of like the second Noah Ark kind of rain for us to get flooded out.
yeah. We could flood here, but it has to be pretty crazy. I live in I'm not waterfront, but I live in a waterfront community. There's three. It's like a point. It's a dead end road. That's why there's so much traffic in front of my house. It's the only way in. It's the only way out, and
Mm.
it's three beaches at the end, about a mile down past my house. So, and I'm up on a hill, like you said. So if it flooded, it would have to really do some serious. I don't even know, but what do they call those things? Typhoon,
Mm.
tsunami. I
Yeah,
don't even know if that could reach me. I'm up
yeah.
pretty
No,
high.
we're not anywhere near. The closest thing for us would be the delta for um, the Gulf of Baja California,
Hmm.
and well, technically, if that delta were to erode, we would be underwater because historically this was underwater. Uh, but because the Colorado River dumps into that delta, you're talking thousands of years of sediment that has made that delta higher than the elevation of the sea. So, I mean, it would have to be manually done to remove that so that the water starts rushing back in here. But other than
Right.
that, I mean, that's I don't know how many miles away, but it's over 100 miles.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we're unless the worst thing that could happen for us because it happened in the early 1900s when they were trying to divert the Colorado River to make the I guess the aqueduct that feeds the all this area down in here. Um, it'll flood out, but it'll go down to the Salton Sea, and that thing will take years of. I mean it flooded for I want to say it was about 5 or 6 years constantly just water from the river flowing down there, and it didn't flood out the entire valley. I mean, it created a. It's the I think it is the largest inland lake in California.
It's all
So,
right.
well, Lake Tahoe is probably the biggest. This is the second biggest,
Right.
the Salton Sea. But you know, but still, there's still a lot of, and with all these years of erosion, it would take another 10 years before it got back to where it used to be if it was flooding in there. But yeah, we're not floods are not something we have to be more concerned about earthquakes because the San
Yeah.
Andreas faults runs right through us.
Yeah.
So you know how
I
they've
don't.
said that California will eventually become an island? Well, we're going to become beachfront property.
Yeah. I've been through one uh, earthquake that was probably 70, 80 miles away.
Mm.
and the pictures on our house, I'm sorry, the pictures on the walls were shook. You could feel it. And we knew something was wrong. But that was about 70, 80 miles away. Next state over that we felt it. I see Gabriel had a question about why is the sleeper in the barbecue. I saw that comment go by.
Oh, okay.
Um, if you look at my logo, there's a clock hanging out on a tree with no hands on it. The pig is just laid back, taking a nap. Of course, when you're cooking, there's no specific time, for a piece of meat to be ready. You know the meat's ready when you probe it. Is the proper way. But and you don't want to rush to cook. You want to cook it slow. So it's low and slow, like a sleeper car. Whatever reason, that just sort of popped in my head. I'm
Oh,
into
okay.
classic cars. I'm looking at a '69 Chevelle covered up, but it's sitting there in front of me. But um, I'm into that low and slow thing, and that was the first thing that popped in my head. A sleeper car. I said, "That's it, sleeper barbecue." So that's where it happened.
Now, do you compete at barbecue events?
I wanted to. Actually, last year I came real close to it. Um, the event would be too challenging for someone that really wasn't set up to compete. They had one uh, water supply. Um, I think there was you had to bring your own generators, so no shelter. So I was like, I really wanted to do this because it was local to me, and but I just wasn't prepared to go out and buy a generator, haul water up there. It just would have been too challenging for a novelist to go into an event where there's other people that are prepared. They have campers, self-contained campers that they pull behind them and stuff. So for me to go out there with a little, you know, pop-up awning with 5 gallon jugs of water, I just wasn't ready for that. If I'm going to go at it, I want a fighting chance. But
Hmm. So have those competitions become more like corporate sponsored events, or are they still individuals that just spend a lot of money to do it?
yeah, no, there's a lot of corporate people. You're even find some of the corporate people are actually even have their own cooking crews
Hmm.
that are competing into these events. But they've gotten real big, and I'm not knocking on the guys that do compete. Um, there's two different. It's two different types of barbecue. So my barbecue is what I call backyard type barbecue.
Okay.
Like you would do, Jorge. You would, want to fire up the grill, cook some chicken or something. That's the type. Well, these guys that compete, um, they're virtually injecting any, flavor profiles into something, maybe multiple seasonings, because they get one bite to wow judges.
Mm.
What's up, Ed? So, it's a one bite competition, and there might be 6 judges there. So they inject these meats with Creole butters, whatever they make, and when they do that, um, that's it's just there's one right there. Aquaballs. He's a
Oh,
huge
Aquabos.
cooker. He's a huge cooker. But I just don't like that kind of meat. I mean, to me, I want to taste the meat. I don't want to get a mouthful of fake flavors that are injected into this meat. That's just me.
Yeah, so there's just different levels, I guess, when it comes to those. I mean, because I know there's like where we live, they'll have small like cooking tournaments, but you're not having the people come out in trailers. They're not like
Yeah,
regional cooking tournaments. It's more like the town, bragging rights kind of. Excuse me, got tobacco leaves in my mouth. it's more of a bragging right kind of thing because there's no money in it. And that
Yeah.
was what I was going to ask you. In those tournaments that you're talking about, is there money involved in that? I mean, the prices, are they really that high, or is it really just the prestige of winning an event like that?
Both.
Oh,
So
okay.
MNC was in here. I'm just learning stuff about MNC. MNC's been in the competition world. He's competed in several very well known competitions like the Royal, Memphis in May. Um, so I was going to have him on my live last night, but it didn't happen. But there is money to be made in it. But you can't get discouraged because when you get into these big events like Memphis in May, um, stuff like that, I mean, there's some big time competitors in there. And some of these guys have been doing it for years. Um, so they'll go in there and they can make money. I mean, it's nothing for them to walk out, with a $3,000 check, a $6,000 check. It depends on how big the event is, what size it is. I mean, there's a guy that um, I, I I used to use his rub a lot. It's not that I don't I don't use as much. It's not because I stopped liking it or anything. It's just that there's another guy that makes seasonings, and he pretty much keeps me fattened up with any type of seasoning that I want. And I continue to use his seasoning. Uncle Steve's shake is his seasoning. He's a big supporter of the barbecue community. He's a he helps schools. He helps people that are down on their luck. He does fundraisers. He's just an all-around good guy. Single father of three girls, and but I like his product enough to where I don't use Bill's chicken fried barbecue. I don't really use his seasoning as much as I used to. It's still good stuff, but that gentleman, uh, he's got it down pat. He's winning competitions left and right, and he's probably banking. I don't even know. I mean, I would be guessing if I'd said. I mean, I don't even know. I hate to even say. I mean, he's buying new equipment. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if someone said that between royalties and sponsorships, I mean, he's probably 20 grand a month, maybe. I
No,
don't
okay.
know. It's probably high. When I sit there and said it out loud, it's probably high, but he's doing very well. He's knocking them down. He's winning all of them, and but he's come out with his own line of seasoning. He's got a second seasoning out now. The chicken or the Texas rib grind. It's excellent. I love the stuff. But but yeah, you can make some money at it, but you've got to be committed and you got to be ready to travel. Just like Bill. Bill, he will travel. I mean, he may come home from one event that's in Missouri. Come home, go to Texas, where's his home base, and load up his next load of proteins if it's not being supplied at the event, and maybe he's heading to Louisiana the next weekend. So yeah, he does a lot of traveling, and you got to be committed to that kind of stuff. The ones that really make it big are the ones that are willing to travel.
Hmm. Yeah, and this is something that I'm always been kind of curious because I seem to correlate it to that, or maybe that's when it became to my attention. But it seemed like the Cooking Network or the Food Network might have played a big part into making barbecue like extreme. It was already popular, I'm pretty sure, but it didn't. It kind of brought it to the forefront when they started televising all these tournaments and stuff like that. They had the shows and all that. Did you guys notice in your guys' industry that all of a sudden you had a big influx of people that decided, oh, we're going to barbecue, or has it always been the same?
No, I can't really say that, oh, we're going to barbecue, but I will say that there's a couple of the people in the barbecue community that were on the Food Network that were requested to come and show their stuff. Um, one of them, he hit it so big. I haven't seen him in 2 years. I'm trying to remember what his name is. He's out of Iowa. God, I can't believe I can't remember his name. I think I have some of his um, like a marinade sauce over there, but I can't remember his name right now. He won the competition, so he just sort of kind of walked away from the YouTube side of it because he's got people he's got management. You have a reputation now. You gotta do this, you gotta do that if you want to continue to go. And he started branching off to making his own rubs and barbecue sauces and stuff like that. Bill Purvis, the one I just talked to, chicken fried barbecue, he was also in the competition. So
No.
you'd be surprised. There's a few YouTubers in there that they're on those Food Network channels and won competitions.
Hey, Lance, I'm going to step away real quick because I'm about to burst at the seams. I'll be right back.
Okay. So Melvin, both Melvins, Mel and Melvin, how y'all doing? Mike Hunt, how are you, sir? Chattanooga Ed, what's up, Ed? Wagyu, Japanese Wagyu. I wish I could afford. There is a cooking channel called Guga. I think it's his name, Guga something. And that guy has a freezer. He's probably stocked up with $10,000 of Wagyu steaks and stuff like that. I can't afford it. It's too rich for me too. Just give me my regular old steak. That Wagyu is some really good stuff, but it's too rich for me.
Oh, the Wagyu steak.
Yeah.
Well, and the other thing I wanted to, because you were talking about recognition and stuff like that. As a person coming into these competitions that might not be like a celebrity cook, 'cause there's obviously those at the competitions. Do they even stand a chance to be able to win a competition, or is it one of those things where going into it, yeah, it's probably going to be one of these five people that are going to win it?
Um, you know, you just don't know. I think there's a I mean, you'll place obviously in the competition. And then obviously you want to be above 10, above 5 would be fantastic. But it's sort of kind of what plays into this stuff. I wish Mike was in here. He's probably shaking his head at me right now. I'm telling you what I know of.
Oh,
Mike,
okay.
MNC, I think I've just learned some stuff about him last weekend. I think he's done some competition cooking. But to get back on the track here, so you got to know flavor profile. So if I go in from, um, let's say I go in from Colorado one weekend and next weekend I'm cooking someplace else in the West. I don't even know. Arizona. I mean, I have no idea, but you got to know the flavor profile. So if you go into Arizona thinking, well, you just, blew the doors off the people in Colorado, um, we're going to do the same thing. Well, you
Oh,
might go into Arizona and they don't like hot and spicy. They prefer something a little bit more
sweet.
mild or a little bit sweeter. So
Oh, okay.
you got to do your homework.
You got to cook to the crowd.
100%. You can't. You have to sort of kind of stick to your program. There's another channel that the gentleman has helped me out a lot. It's called Mama and Papa Joe. His CJ and Leisha is his wife. He just got out of competing. He had cooking classes and everything, and he's the one that sort of kind of um, that said, he stuck to a system, to his recipe, and he found out that he had to bend it a little bit, to be able to compete into these different areas. You can't just walk into, Missouri. I tell you right now, you walk into Missouri with the Texas flavor profile, you're going to lose your butt, you know. Kansas City barbecue versus Texas barbecue is different. It's just like South Carolina or Carolina barbecue. I'm in Southern Maryland. I'm as far south as you can go in Maryland, uh, before you go into like Virginia and head south towards North Carolina. But even their food's different from other flavor profiles, different from what we have here. And they you just you just can't go in there, without being a little flexible because you're going to lose your butt.
Mm.
But as far as a new guy going there, he's got a chance. You know, he's got a chance. I'm hoping that he would probably have experimented some, um, a little bit before he actually, stepped into the competition world. So, he probably had some idea of what worked. And normally, if you're making stuff and you're giving it to don't give it to your family, because the family isn't they're gonna enjoy the food, but you want an honest to God. I want to give a rack of ribs to Jorge. Jorge don't know me outside of the fishing, the family fish community. So if I ask him, what do you honestly think about this, Jorge? I'm going to get an honest, opinion from him. So if you do stuff like that, try out a little, or like you were saying, small little town events. Get opinions from people that don't know you, um, and just I've always said, I enjoy constructive criticism. Don't come at me to being, a jackarse, because you think you're number one, and you might be, and it very well could be better than me, and that's fine. But don't just don't be a jackass. Be constructive. If you're going to suggest something, you know, let's hear it and let me learn from it. Don't just give me a paragraph full of you shouldn't do this, you shouldn't do that. You don't know what you're doing because I don't want to read it. You know.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, going into the fact that you're kind of walking in two different hobbies. You obviously have more, but I mean that you're documenting, um, going now to the fish side of it, and getting to know, I guess, a little bit of the community and stuff like that. Are they can you find some correlations between the barbecue community and the fish community, or are they two totally distinct worlds?
You know, that was one of the biggest fears. It hadn't been that long, Jorge. I mean, how long have I been in the fish community? 3 months, 4 months,
Yeah,
maybe.
okay, that was what I was curious, because I know you, and I can't remember where it was the first time that I saw you, but it immediately stood out because you were the barbecue
Yeah,
guy in the group.
right. Well, when I say that, I mean, actually made that step to stick my head out and start getting into these chats and put, saying hello to people and watching and learning and stuff like that. But that was the biggest. I thought for sure that, Lance, you're probably going to lose your channel completely because the barbecue people are not going to follow you into the fish family, and the fish family is not going to follow you into the barbecue world. So, but I had made a decision. Look, I'm 66 years old. 60, yeah, 66 years old, and I'm the one that's putting out the money for these meats that I'm buying, my time and making the videos and editing for the videos. Yeah, I hope YouTube loves them and the algorithm just says, "Man, I ain't seen nothing like this since, you know, ketchup, whatever." But we're going to push this. Yeah, you always wish for that, but if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. If I'm happier with doing something that I enjoy doing, which is the tanks, I'm back into the tanks. I didn't realize how much I missed it, until I got back into it. I was like, God, I'm having fun. But um, and I've just relaxed a little bit. When you're doing the cooking videos, you know, I'm waiting for someone to say something because I'm not wearing gloves,
Mm.
or, I was too much of this seasoning, whatever the reason is. There's a lot more pressure in the barbecue side of it. When you're in the fish community, it's just more laid back. And Stephen P., he actually, I think he was the first one to say it. Christine from Sweet Acre Koi, she's the one that actually suggested my name change to, because I told her I was thinking about changing the name, and she came up with the name. I said, "Wow, I absolutely love it." But Stephen P. said one day, because I made the comment a couple times, I hope that people, follow me into the fish community, and I hope the fish community follows me into barbecue. I don't understand why those two couldn't overlap each other. And Stephen said, we all have to eat, and whether it be barbecue or not, he says, I think it'll be fine. I think you'll be accepted. And I will say that the fish community has been more open armed than the barbecue community. Now, when I say that, there's a lot of channels that are pretty close to me that have, have been through my 4 year journey in the barbecue. So they're um, more acceptable to what I'm doing and understand. Um, the barbecue or the fish family people, I don't know. It just seems like they're more laid back, um, and I don't know. There's just not as much stress. I don't know what else to say.
Uh, it depends. I mean, we have our fair share of drama and strife in the community, but uh, it's only if you want to get into it. It's one of those
Yeah,
things you got to go seek it
exactly.
out, and you'll find
Yeah,
it. Uh, but my personal experience has always been very, very positive. I mean, I think what it is because this is kind of like a loner hobby, and what I mean by that is most of us, for the most part, will be the only one in the family member that does this hobby, and it's not like you can go to work and talk about fish tanks, but you can go to work and talk about what you grilled over the weekend because more people will relate to that.
right,
We tend to be a little bit more unrelatable because of our hobby.
right,
so so I think because that's the case with our hobby, we immediately when we find somebody else that takes interest in what we're doing, we tend to
right,
gravitate towards them because we can share that. Now I have somebody that I can talk about what's going on in here and be just as excited as I am, you know?
right, right,
Whereas if I go to work and tell them, oh my guppies are having fry, they're gonna okay.
right,
But I can go to them and say, hey, this weekend I cooked some bomb carne asada. They'll be like, oh yeah, what did you do? The
right,
conversation will be very different.
right,
So that's why I'm always interested in finding out. But overall, my experience, and I know there's several of us in here that can vouch for that. As we've come in here, it has been very, very accepting and very, very supportive. And I can say that honestly with everybody that is here, has I've never had a mishap with them. We can have differences of opinions because it's impossible for all of us to have the same uh, opinion as each other. But that doesn't mean that we still can't understand where we're coming from and what we're doing. And and I think a lot of it is, at least in my case, I love learning about new stuff all the time, whether it's in the fish hobby or whatever it is. I'm a very curious person by nature, and I'm always willing to explore and learn something new, something that's interesting, something that I haven't done before. And I think my fish room is a perfect example of that because every time I hear somebody, you can't do this because this, I go, oh yeah, well let me go see. So I'll
right.
try it out, and I'll find out. I was like, oh yeah, they were definitely right on that one. Or I'll be
Yeah,
like, nah, you can pull it off. You just got to do
yeah,
this and that.
yeah,
And that's kind of what I do with my fish room. So, but that's just part of my hobby too. It's what I want to experience and learn and do that.
yeah,
Now, the other thing that this community has given me is the opportunity to get to know people. by doing these live streams and people accepting to come on, all of a sudden now I'm getting to know different people that I would have never have met before in my life. We probably would
Right.
have never have crossed paths if it wasn't for this social media.
Right.
And and that's I kind of enjoy that because I love learning people's experiences, what what made them do what they want, what they're doing now, and stuff like that. I'm always very interested in that. And one of the things is I don't want to be necessarily pigeonholed to just doing fish stuff. That's why when you came into the community, I was like, yes, now I can bring somebody else that we can tie in the fish side of it because you do keep aquariums, but you have a whole different side of another hobby that I like it. I mean, I've always been interested in cooking. That's one thing that I always tell people. I take a lot of pride in preparing meals for my family and stuff like that. And as obviously as you might be aware, I watched a lot of the stuff on the Food Network and try to replicate some of the stuff that does there. And I've picked up skills that I didn't have because I try to do I try to emulate what they're doing. I did when I was living in Mexicali. Did take some culinary classes and kind of elevated my skills a little bit more, understanding about temperatures and searing and all this other stuff that I didn't really have a handle on. And I think that's helped me improve my ability to cook.
Mhm.
And but it is something that I was very passionate. But I quickly understood too. I don't want to do that for a living.
Yeah.
And I learned that from hearing it from professional chefs, where it's like, you don't want to do this. You really, really have to love doing this because you're not going to make any money off of it. Most
Right.
of those guys have gone through a couple of marriages because they're 100% dedicated to what they're trying to accomplish. And knowing that, I said, okay, well, I love it enough to be able to do a meal for my family, but not to that point where it becomes everything.
Yeah.
So, but I still enjoy watching. I love one of my favorite shows to watch is The Bear, which is about a guy that is trying to bring this. I think is it in Philly that he has his restaurant and he's trying to make it. It's been in his family for several years, and it's or no, it's not Philly. I think it's Chicago, if I'm not mistaken. Somebody will correct me. I'm pretty sure somebody else watches that show, but I've always been interested, with those type of shows because I really enjoy it. And watching the Food Network, that's how I started finding out the whole other side of the, I guess you want to call it sporting, which is barbecue, and how crazy it gets. And when you start seeing people camp out over the weekend for the tournament, you know that it's a pretty big deal.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's one of the way. That's what really what helped me get into it too. You said camping. We used to do a lot of camping, and it goes back to that thing where you're sharing your food with someone that doesn't know you, and you're getting all this feedback, from these strangers. And when you start getting, really good feedback, you must be doing something wrong or something right, rather. What's up, Jesse? One thing I will add, and I sort of skipped over it, and the fish family is more willing to help and to
Mm.
help solve your problems, take on your problems. The barbecue community, uh, not so much. They're not
They're
going to
pretty
share
guarded.
that recipe. Yeah, they're not going to share that recipe. They might give you some hints. Some of them will. I mean, they're not all like that, but some of them are going to help you. But for the most part, that recipe is sort of kind of like a family secret. That's why I like watching people cook. I mean, I don't, when you stop learning is when life is boring. You know, if you should, if you can continue to learn something from somebody, whether it be something you never did, something you did all your life. I mean, just be open minded. Don't be so stuck in your ways. Try new things. That's when I had a home remodeling business also. And there's products that I used to use religiously, and then there's a product that came out later on, and it's like, God, this is so much better, than something else. So just be open minded and enjoy life, man. Jeez.
Yeah, and I know when I started doing this, what that's why I know you asked me what's the agenda, what are we going to talk about, and I have purposely not set up uh, questions for my interviews because there's plenty of people that do that, and what I've taken away from that is if you start following, there's only so many questions you can ask about fish keeping before it starts getting repetitive. And if it's
Right.
somebody that's been on multiple live streams, you get to the point where it's like, oh, you're going to ask me again, what's my favorite fish? It's kind of like,
Right.
I've said
Right.
that 100 times. Um, more of a believer in let's have a conversation. Let's get to know
Right.
you on a different level. And the reason I do that is because I know fish keeping is one part of what you like to do. But if anybody is like me, that's not the only thing that I like to do. There's a lot of other things that I
Right.
enjoy doing besides keeping fish. And that's the stuff that I'm really interested about knowing about somebody because then you get to know more about that person. Because I can get to know what you know about fish keeping by watching your videos. And you might not laying everything out, but I get a pretty good idea of your fish keeping abilities, your knowledge based on the videos that you're putting out, what the information you're sharing. I could go, oh, okay, yeah, he's either starting out or yeah, this guy is a little bit more advanced. And then you come across guys who's like, these guys are just experts, they've got
Yeah.
so much knowledge and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And so and it's not always necessarily the big channels either, which is very interesting. I think what's happened in our community with the bigger channels is kind of what you were talking about. The guy that does the barbecue, when they started out, it was still new.
Hmm.
So since there wasn't a lot of people doing the same thing, it allowed them to grow a little bit quicker. But it's not even necessarily that though, because if you go just like what you were saying, this guy's been doing it for 12 years. Most of our big channels, the people that YouTube usually, if you type in fish keeping or aquariums, it's going to guide you to the bigger channels, which would probably be Aquarium Co-op, King of DIY, KG Tropicals, Primetime Aquatics. Those are like undisputably the ones that will more often will come up when you're looking for some information.
Yeah.
And but what they all have in common is they've been doing this for over 10 years. So
Yeah.
they've had their fair share of time and consistency of doing videos that YouTube kind of, I guess, must hold them in a different category because they're kind of like the shoulders that we're standing on. They're
Right.
the ones that started doing it. And it doesn't take away anything from what they're done. I think they're excellent resources for people that are just coming in. But like everything else, once you decide that this is what you want to do, you get curious and you start looking and you start finding other channels, other people in the community, and you start realizing that where your world might have been this small when you started in, now you're seeing that your world's expanding because there's more and more people. And that's what I love about what I'm doing because I purposely go out of my way to look and see who's out there, who's just up and coming. And I've done that so much now that I know most people wouldn't get people that have less than 300 subscribers hit their algorithm because we were talking about the algorithm, but because YouTube knows that I seek those channels out, I get to see them. I found there's I need to do now. I have enough new channels that I've found that I can do another. I knew another live stream called The Plug, and the purpose of that is to kind of bring attention to these smaller channels that I find very interesting. And it's not that I'm being egotistical about this, but I know that if I find it interesting, more than likely you'll probably find it interesting because we all kind of share the same, um, you know, I guess likes or whatever. We have a lot of stuff that we can pretty much find common ground in. And I'm going, oh, the rest of the community needs to know that these people exist out here,
Right.
and because it's the idea of of doing videos and stuff like that is because you want to be able to find that community. You want to be able to find the people that enjoy what you're doing, and that's what I'm hoping to be able to do with me bringing attention to those channels. Is like, look, I kind of like these guys for these reasons. You might enjoy it too. Why don't you go look at them? And if you
Mhm.
like it, then you have a new channel you can subscribe to. If you don't, then you didn't waste your time. You just kind of
Right.
know that they're out there.
That's something that we have in common and didn't even realize it just now. So that was probably one of the first lives of yours I ever saw when you promoted 4 channels that day. And I was like, this is something I respect because that's what the Goodfellas was built on. That's what
Mm.
we came up with. We wanted the smaller channels include, and that was us too. We felt like we could cook as good as Russ Jones and Smokey or Smoking Joe and Gallery Backyard, whoever else is really well known. There's tons of them. You just Chud. You just can't think of all their names on the spot of the moment. But we felt like we could cook as good as them, uh, but we weren't getting the recognition. So that was the purpose of Goodfellows to create, collaboration. Where we start doing collaborations and um, just trying to get our names out there. And that was the same exact thing. That's what like I was so respected when I saw that first live of yours. I said, "That's cool." So people that make it, and I saw a comment in here about the big channels. That's one problem with, and I don't, I'm new to the fish community. Maybe there is fish people out there that are just, I've made it. You I don't need to help you. There is, unfortunately, a lot of barbecue people out there, and I say it a lot because I've been in the barbecue community for 4 years, so I've seen, a number of people. I've only been in the fish community for what 4 months, 5 months, and so I haven't really. I can't say honestly that I forgot. I've noticed a lot of people that forgot where they started from, and that's a pet peeve of mine. Don't forget where you came from. You weren't always that big hot shot. You just did something that really worked well, and congratulations. But don't forget about the next guy.
Yeah, but to be fair, um, and I kind of understand it because if you go to a big channel live stream, uh, sometimes it's like you look at the chat and it's like just going and going because
Oh
they'll
yeah,
have hundreds of people there,
yeah,
and as a content creator, how do you how do you still be able to present what you're trying to do and acknowledge everybody that's coming in at the same time, or be paying attention to the comments and not get distracted from what you're trying to say? So I'll give them a little bit of leeway there, understanding there's a point where your channel gets too big where it's going to
mm,
be really hard to interact. I don't have that problem. I don't have that excuse. I'm just a freaking scatterbrain that if I look, it's not that I think there's too much going on there. I get sidetracked. You saw me trying to multitask right now and giving somebody a wrench and trying to talk at the same time, and I wasn't making any sense. Um, I always admire people that can pull that off. People like Aquafunk, Stephen P, and his wife Jenna. They never miss any comments. Anybody coming in, they're very good at doing that. And I know that like anything else, it's a skill that you
yeah,
learn to develop. It's muscle memory. It's being able to do that. Um,
right,
but I also know who I am and how I am. That I might get lost too much in that, not be able to focus on what you're trying to tell me, or if I had something that I wanted to ask you, that I will forget what it was that I wanted to ask. And I have that problem as it is, anyways, without any distractions.
yeah,
Um, so I don't need it that added stuff. And it's not like I'm not trying to acknowledge people. I again, if there's one thing that I've truly appreciative is if they're not here, I don't have a channel. That's the reality. I mean, I have a
Right.
channel, but it's just sitting there. It's because people take their time out of their day to come in here and share their time with me because
Right.
that's what they're doing. That's a choice that they're making. And that to me is it's invaluable because they're doing that. They could be doing 100 other things, but no, they're taking time out of their whatever it is they're doing, and they're coming here to watch this. So
Right.
to me, that is something that I can never forget and never stop appreciating, no matter what the future holds for me. Because again, at the end of the day, they're choosing to be here. They're choosing to
Right.
watch my videos. So for that, I'm very very grateful. I mean, I just I don't think there's enough words for me to express that. Um,
Yeah. No.
the
And
other the other
go ahead.
sorry, go ahead, go ahead.
I didn't mean to cut you off, Jorge, but what I mean, I don't mean immediate recognition. Um, I would surely hope that there is, enough time between, live one and live number two that, maybe there's some time to go back and look over the chat. This guy's been in the chat a lot. He's asked a question. I missed that question. Let
Mm,
me reply to it and get back to him that way. You don't have
yeah.
to slow your chat down immediately. I saw Kyle. Kyle, he always picks on himself. I think Kyle is a very intelligent person. Um, I think that's Kyle's problem. He's so damn smart. He just he likes to be able to think about stuff, before he actually gives you that firm answer. I think he does a great job. But I just saw him in the chat picking on himself, and I don't see it. But I'm sorry. Go ahead, Jorge.
No, no, and but getting back to why I love doing my live stream for the plugs because it always reminds me of when I was starting out. And you know, I know to 1,000, 2,000 subscribers is not a lot of subscribers. But for somebody that is starting out, somebody that is just getting into this, the fact that somebody that has more subscribers than you was able to acknowledge what you're doing and took time to watch what you're doing and leave a comment and stuff like that, I think it as a new content creator, God, that is so motivating. It
Hmm.
was for me. It was for me when I was starting out that I know how much of an effect that had on me that I try to not to be pretentious or anything like that, but I just know that that's something that motivated me to continue and continue to do stuff.
Right.
So I try to do that as paying it forward. That's the reality of it. It's just
Yep.
plus the way we're going to grow is we're going to grow together. The more of us that are participating, supporting each other, the more that are highlighting our accolades and stuff like that, the more we're going to be better off. That's at least that's my opinion. And
No, I
and
agree.
I've seen it happen in other communities that I don't see why it wouldn't work in ours. I mean, it's just to me, the more the merrier. That's the truth,
Yeah.
or at least my
I
truth.
think I think people, there's going to be people that aren't going to agree with me and say, oh, I don't need all that. But I think there's a little bit in every one of us, and I'll be the first one to raise my hand. A little recognition goes a long way, So just saying, hey man, and that Rush Challenge is one of the guys. I mean, he'll leave a comment on your video. Man, that really looked good. You did a great job, and little stuff like that. Just it's that motivator. I mean, I I almost walked away from this about a year ago, and I had a guy that came in there into my live or to a cook, and he just totally bashed my cook. And I was like, God, this guy he hasn't tried it. He needs to taste this. And I just replied back to him. I said, look, I said, I mean, you're entitled to your opinion. I said, but I would hope that you at least try this. And it was about 2 months later that this same person came back into that same cook and left another comment. He said, you're right. I tried it. and I was just absolutely blown away. And that's like just like, dude, that just makes it so great. To be able to get that little recognition. It's like, I've just chewed a blue pill. I'm ready to go.
Yeah, the other thing that I really admire about, you know, the community that we have, and you alluded to that they're always willing to help. The one thing uh, that I do notice is that we don't tear each other down.
Right.
Very seldom will I see a negative comment from, and now I'm not talking about on my videos, because one of the things that I do is when I go immediately, especially any video, I like to look at the comments. I want to see what people are saying about what's going on. Seldom will I come across somebody saying something disparaging, somebody saying something that would make the person feel bad, even if they're giving criticism, or it's not even criticism. It's kind of like, yeah, that would work, but you know what? Maybe if you try this, this, and that, they're always trying to give a solution,
Right.
and I think that's that because I've seen other and other stuff that I watch that's got nothing to do with fish. God, people could be so toxic. And it seems like the only reason they're commenting is to tear that person down.
Yep.
And and it's kind of like, why what's so bad in your life that you have to take that negativity and try to give it to somebody else? I mean, I'm
Well, I
sorry that's your situation, but I
yeah.
don't get it.
I think that's just exactly it. They have a miserable life, and they want people to be as miserable as they are. Would be my opinion of that. People. It's like going on a job site. You go to work every day. I saw that. I had to smile. I saw that. You go to work, and you always have that one person that just brings the whole crew down. Every night, every day, whatever shift you work, and it just wants to bring it down because he so hates life. He so hates what he's doing. And those are the people I just never understood. I mean, I realize it's a paycheck, but man, if you're that miserable, you need to move on because there's things out there that are going to make you happy instead of being so miserable and making everybody else miserable around you. I mean, unless they're just getting a kick out of it. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah, and it's well, there are broken people out there, and I think that's
Yeah,
just the way they deal with it.
yeah,
Um, I'm not saying that we don't have broken people in our community, but it doesn't seldom. And I think a lot of it is that we kind of police ourselves too. We try to discourage that type of behavior. Um, uh, you know, our moderators that we have in our community are very good. That when things are or people are getting nasty, they deal with it.
hmm,
Um, very quickly. They don't tolerate a lot of that. They don't tolerate any of it, to be honest. And so, but I think we have people I would consider like Ed that's here, Chattanooga Ed. He's kind of like one of the cornerstones that because he's been doing this longer than I can remember, and he's a person that leads by example. You couldn't meet a kinder person uh,
yeah,
than Ed, and so and he's just one of many,
yeah,
that we have, but I think we're very fortunate, and I think that's why we kind of enjoy doing this. Is because we find that support, and and that's something that I'm always going to try to pay forward to. Is
yeah,
as much as I can, and as much as I can help somebody, if I can help them, I will. And
yeah.
and and that's all because that's the culture that's been kind of created, and
Right.
hopefully that continues to be. I'm hoping that never goes away, and I don't think so because one of the greatest thrills that I hear people talk about is going to community events. Like I know one of the biggest ones that we have would be like the Keystone Clash. That's like a thing that everybody that can and wants to go to it. I haven't heard somebody come back and say they had a terrible experience.
Yeah.
Um, and that speaks to the people. because if the people were nasty, I don't care how good the event is, it's not going to be an enjoyable experience.
Yeah. I hope to make it to the Clash this year. It's about a little more than 3 hours away from me in Pennsylvania. So I'm hoping to be able to meet some people up there. But you talked about Ed. To see him, what's up, Bat? You see uh, Ed and Whip get together. I mean, it's like it can get Laurel and Hardy ish, where there's just it's fun to watch them. Do enjoy watching them.
So going back to the the question that gets asked a lot, how many aquariums do you have?
Um, right now I have got my 75, which is a rainbow tank. I got a betta tank for the first time. I got two more tanks here I haven't done anything with because I just don't want to rush into stuff. I've got the
Yeah,
55-gallon community tank that was behind me. Both of these tanks are sort of, I keep mentioning Stephen P. I mean, we talked about how people help you. I send him
yes.
pictures. He don't know me from Adam, he don't owe me nothing. But I told him, I said, man, I said, my plants were looking so great. I was proud of the tank. But now all of a sudden, everything's, 4 months down the road, everything's just dying. All of a sudden, for no reason, it's just dying. So he made some suggestions for me, and it's green again. And with lighting and talking about different stuff, it's green again. So I'm very happy with it. So that's what 1, 2, 3 full running. I had two shrimp tanks because I wanted to experiment with the shrimp. So that's what 5. I've got 3 tanks over here, which is actually I have a pair of angels that are actually fanning eggs right now, where they spawned and they're doing their job. I'm hoping that they take care of them. There's a little breeder tank one hanging on front of that 55 where I had to clip the leaf about a month ago because they were eating the eggs. So
Oh,
right now they act like they're taking care of them. So I'm going to leave them in there this time for right now. But then I have a CPD tank. I got a what do you call those? Mountain minnows, but the gold version. And I've got another angelfish tank. So that's 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9 running tanks. But I still have 4 tanks to decide what I want to do with them right now. I'm real tight in here. I got a car in front of that. Half of this garage almost is dedicated to my cooking prep area. Um, I used to build things with furniture and stuff, so I still have some lumber over there racked. I got my grills in there, and then over in the other corner, I have a reloading area because, as I said earlier, I'm into Second Amendment stuff, but I'm into antique stuff. Old Mauser, Mosin Nagant type stuff, the old rifles from the 40s, 50s. Um, but I also have a fish fly tying area over there too. So I've got a lot shoved in this little 24 by 30, and so I don't have a whole lot of room for the tank. So before I fill up those other 4 tanks, I want to make sure it's what I want. I committed to some fish from Peplin,
okay.
Roxanne and Brian, so they're supposed to be ready. I got suckered into that one. Not really, but I sucker myself into it. I started watching this video of these eggs and watch these eggs from eggs to hatching, and I was
Hmm.
like, God, I feel like I got to have some of these fish. So I
Attachment to
committed.
the.
Yeah, I committed to them. So it's no one's fault but my own. But so one of those tanks will be designated for those.
Yeah, no.
Malders, sacred, hybrid, sacred. Yeah. Malders, I don't have any Seikos, but the Mosin Nagants, I've got a fair amount of them. Not a whole lot, but more than I need. I keep telling myself, you go to these shops or these shows, and wow, look at that, man! I'd love to have that. Another M1 Grand. I would love that, but you know, then you finally tell yourself, well, one, the pricing these days have it's more than doubled to what they used to be. But how many guns can you shoot at one time? So how many guns can you shoot in 1 week? So you start thinking about it, you don't need all that stuff. So I would cut way back. It sounds like it's a time for that
For a 30
33rd
by
drive
30
to
or
have a bedroom extension. Yeah, I would love to. I would absolutely love to, but I am retired now, and but I'm more than capable of doing. I live in an Amish Mennonite community. I can. George witnessed it. Jorge witnessed it before we went live. One of the Amish guys called me. Still work with Amish people, and I drive them around. I take them to do estimates, haul trailers for them. If they need, another set of hands, I'm there for like kitchen installs, kitchen cabinet installs, but pole building, raising stuff like that. So it's more than capable of doing this. It's just, um, I don't know. It's just a lot more money, and how much time do I have?
yeah. Yeah. So are you the guy they call when they need power tools they can't use?
Yeah, it's worth the truth to that. Or you'll buy something and you'll buy it and they use it. So, but yeah, no, there's some truth to that. Where you see it mostly will be um, an Amish company that's not family oriented. Is that the right way of saying that? So if you have an Amish guy, the one that just called me now, he's worked for my uncle. Oh, I shouldn't say that. He's worked with my uncle for probably dang near 30 years. Uh, he's also worked, because I was licensed to the state of Maryland to do home remodeling and stuff. I've always did it, even when I was driving with UPS. I did remodeling and stuff. But um, so when it's like us three or us two, you know, they have no problem with using, the battery powered stuff, the electric stuff. Um, the Amish are sort of kind of getting a little bit more laid back with their rules and regulations. But this same gentleman I was talking to earlier, his his three of his sons, four of his sons now work with him. So he's no longer really doing work with my uncle anymore. He's focusing on himself and his children. So they were mostly we work with air powered tools. So a lot of their tools are like a DeWalt
Hmm.
electric saw. They've got Amish people, and there's other companies, but there's a lot of the Amish people that will convert them over to air driven. So they're pneumatic. They'll just take all the guts out of it, and there's something that's made that goes into place that electric armature, and now it's air driven. Table saws, sawzalls. One of the things that probably floored me the most when I first saw it was a fan. I was in the shop and I was feeling this breeze. I kept hearing. I was in a furniture building shop. I just kept hearing this. I was like, never really paid attention to it much. I mean, I could hear it, but then I finally, when I had time, I sort of like traced the sound down, and it was an air-driven fan. It has all these arms on it. It's like, but it really moves some air. That's something really that I really got kicked out of for whatever reason. But I enjoy working around them. You learn a lot. They're respectful people, and there's some that still look at you what they would call a come here. You're English. You're not Amish. You're going to have the diehards. That treat you like that. They'll say hello to your face, but they're not going to want you to help them. They'll ask you for a ride. Take them to the pharmacy to go get some lumber or something like that. But they're not going to be your friends. But then there's others that they would do. And this gentleman that I talked to earlier, you heard the conversation. He just
Yeah.
he would do anything in the world for you, anything.
Looks like Dean's gonna celebrate a little bit right now because I think he hit 100 subscribers. Is that what he was trying to
Hobby
accomplish?
Dan?
And yeah, Hobbytown.
I
He's
thought
gonna
he'd been
go.
around. Oh yeah, it says Dean. I thought he'd been around for a while. He's
Yeah,
actually, I'm sorry, Jorge, but he's actually the one because I know he's into the koi, and I saw
mhm,
his channel first on Christina Maureen,
mhm.
and I was like, then when I started seeing stuff like that, I was getting more comfortable with, you know, what's a barbecue community or channel going to do in a fish community? Are they going to work? And I started seeing it was his specific channel that I saw, and I was like, this guy's making it work, and that's when I decided that, I'm the one doing this, you know, I'm the one putting effort into it, and damn it, sorry, Jorge, I'm going to enjoy what I do.
Yeah,
I'm going to enjoy it, you know.
yeah. No, I mean that's the whole point of doing this. If there's no enjoyment in it, then why do it? Why?
Right.
Because you know, look, the reality is the days that people, especially in our niche, could have made money off of this are gone. Strictly out of YouTube, become a full time content. And I always tell people, be careful what you wish for because I don't think people realize it how much more work it takes to make money on YouTube than if you had a 9 to 5. There's no
Yeah.
way in this world that I'm going to quit my 9 to 5 and do this full time because just not going to happen. 9 to 5
Yeah.
gives me insurance, gives me a paycheck, gives me vacation time,
Yep.
gives me all these other things that once you start working on your own and you're an independent business, you're not going to get. See, I know that I go in at this time and at this time I punch a clock and I'm done. I don't have
Yeah.
to think about work anymore.
Yeah.
I can choose to think about work, but I choose not to. I'm done.
Right.
Where if you do this for a living, there is no being off the clock. There isn't. You're working 24/7 because you're either coming up with ideas, you're editing stuff, you're dealing with phone calls to coordinate stuff. You are working way, way too much more. And a lot of people say, oh, no, but I'm doing what I love to do. You love to do it now because it's not a job.
Right.
The minute you make it a job, because that's what
Right.
you're doing, you're making it a job, you're going to learn to hate it. Why
Yep.
do you have so many big content creators that were quitting last year? That were after so many years of doing this, they were going, you know what? I'm done. Now, obviously, they've gotten to a point now where it's self sustaining. Maybe they're not going to, if they were pulling in, I don't know, $20,000 a month. Well, maybe they're only pulling in now 10 or 15. That's still pretty good. You can live off of that. You just got to
Oh
modify your lifestyle. Or
yeah.
you start doing something else until you burn out on that. But which is what most of those guys are doing. So it's just one of them pays overtime shifts. Yeah, exactly. So I am always going to treat this as my my joy project, and if it gives me some sort of dividends, great. If it doesn't, I get more out of these conversations than anything else. It's just being able to connect with other people and having good conversations is
Yeah. Right.
fun. To me, it's fun. I don't think I
Right.
could get tired of that. I love doing this. So, I'll do an occasional fish video here and there, but there's only so many topics you can do before you start, doing the same thing over and over.
Well, that's what the barbecue, and I'm going back to Russ again. I was like, and he said the same thing. I was like, man, I'm so burnt out on it. I mean, how many different ways can you cook a rack of ribs? How many different ways can you make a hamburger? How many different ways can you smoke a pork butt? It's repetitive and it's redundant. To the point where now you're buying different grills. So now you're putting more money out on something that's not making money. and just so you can show that pork butt being cooked on a pellet smoker this time instead of a stick burner or a charcoal grill. So you're doing things. And case in point, today, I mean, cooking that steak on that old part grill that I restored. That's going to be a new way to cook a steak. Otherwise, how many times can you cook a steak? So, but that and just you just sort of kind of said it. You've got to be able to enjoy it when it becomes a numbers game. And I saw Alcabal say something earlier. He just realized he had 7 years and he didn't even know it because he's not watching that.
Yeah.
He's there enjoying his hobby and having a good time at it. Um, when you're watching the numbers, man, it's gonna act like you're thinking it's never gonna happen. And that's where I was up to the fish stuff. I was like, why am I doing this? I don't. I'm putting out. You look at the numbers of what you're. I mean, I wanted to buy two ribeyes. It was $65. I put them bad boys back because I won't make 6 cents on that video. So I put them right back, and I picked up some less expensive New York steaks, New York strips, because I'll get the same thing done. We'll still eat. We'll have a steak, but I just saved myself $30. So it's like, it's just having fun with it, enjoying it, and stop worrying about the numbers. And you mentioned the channel earlier, KGT. He used to be less than 30 minutes away from me when they lived in Virginia. They had a shop in Virginia, and I could have been there in 20, 25 minutes. Well, John, I don't know how much you follow his channel, but he pretty much, he got burned out about 2 months ago about worrying about the numbers, worrying about the analytics, worrying about doing it how YouTube wants you to do it, where he just finally flipped the switch and he's going to start doing what he wanted to do. And that was another thing that sort of kind of made me decide, I'm just going to do it. The barbecue people don't like me being in a fish community because I showed some camping trips. I've shown, me uh, cooking, on a grill beside the river. Shown me fishing. I've shown me at fireworks at my in-laws' place, shooting rifles, and I have more of that to come yet. And it's all going on this barbecue channel, whether Big Brother likes it or not. I'm just going to enjoy it and stop worrying about the numbers. And I'll say this too, since I did go into a different community. My channel subwise has really seen an improvement since I just laid back and started enjoying it.
Yeah, you know what it is? I think people will feed off of you, your personality, because you can see when somebody is not enjoying what they're doing, they're not the people you want to watch. You can
Yeah,
tell. The person is just kind of going through the motions. And again, because you're making a choice to dedicate time to watch something, you don't want to watch that. You want to watch
right,
somebody that's having fun, somebody that's enjoying uh, what they're doing, and that's what's gonna make you gravitate towards it. At least that's what it happens with me. I love hearing the excitement in people's voice when they're doing something.
yeah,
To me, that's a lot more appealing than sometimes what they're doing. Just the fact that I know that they're really enjoying what they're doing is cool. You get because I guess unconsciously you feed off of that enthusiasm and just
right,
kind of brightens the day a little bit more. And so I don't know. Like I said, um, I was talking to Aquafunk. Aquafunk is a friend of mine, and he's probably the one that I talk to the most. I have several friends here, but he's the one that we constantly, call each other and stuff like that. And I remember he just recently did a live stream, and he was a little bit concerned because this is not his style of live streams. He does more solos, and he's been wanting to do guests. And I told him, dude, have a guest on, because he was like, wow, but he tends to be a little bit more in control. He likes being in control. And I told him, dude, just freaking relax, let it go. Have on people that you want to talk to. That's the whole key to this. You want to have people that you want to be able to have a conversation with, because that's going to make it the entire experience a lot more easygoing. Uh, you're not there obligated. You're picking who you want to have on because for whatever your reason is, but it's got to be something that you want to do or somebody that you're interested in. Because if you're just having people for the sake of having on people, well, not always is it going to be something that you might enjoy doing. So it's just I don't know. And he was concerned. He was like he was having second thoughts, and I said, dude, don't worry about it. Just let it go. Let the conversation go where it goes. He got done with that, and he was super pumped and excited again. I said, dude, you were worrying about nothing.
Yeah.
If you kind of give up a little bit of control and let it
Right.
happen
Right.
naturally, you'll be
Exactly.
surprised how easy it is. He goes, I can't believe we were on for 2.5 hours. I said, yeah, it's
Yeah.
easy to do when you're not worried about time. You're just engaged in what that person is telling you, and
Right.
you're focused on that. Before you know it, time will go by. You won't even be cognizant of that, and that's how you know you're really having a good time, because it's just time flies. It's so true when you're really enjoying what you're doing, you're having a great conversation and all that. Time just flies. It just goes by real quick. Before you know it, it's like, oh man, it's
Yeah.
been we've been on that long.
We're talking about having fun. So one of the other people you interviewed, Nick, that's another guy that's I don't. He's got a lot of brain in that little head of his. Man, that guy is smart. He has. He goes after something. He wants to know everything about it. Before he walks away from it. I mean, you got to admire that. Um, but he had. It's been a while ago. Christine was on that panel too, where he
Oh,
was talking about what do they call that? Not after hours, but members only or whatever it is. And they were talking about how this, I guess, particular female and how they dress when they cook or do their their shows or their channel, whatever. And I've always said that. I said, because I agree wholeheartedly. I said, if I had breast, my channel would probably blow up, because I would just make sure I wore the right top and bent over the right way. And I'm not taking away from a woman. She's using her assets. That's how it works for her, and I'm just jealous. So I mentioned something one day. I had a bacon wrap hot dog video that I put out maybe a month ago, and I opened my mouth, and it was after Nick's live. We were talking about that in one of my lives, and I was like, I would if I had, I say, if I had a fake butt cheeks or something, I would do a video on that. What shows up to my damn door 2 days later? Someone ships me a pair of fake butt cheeks. So I'm like, well, I'm a man of my word. I'm a man of my word. I said I was going to do it, and I'm committed to having to do that. So I did. I did. I put that video out with me having a pair of fake butt cheeks on, and that video to show what Nick was saying. That was probably one of my best videos in a short amount of time. It took off great, but
yeah. The only my only I
but
I know the
I
live
want
stream you're talking about.
yeah.
Oh, go
If I
ahead.
could say, George, I'm sorry. That's part of having fun. You
Yeah.
know, stop worrying about are they going to take away from me because I did that. That's part of what I'm saying about having fun. I'm sorry.
Yeah, well, life's too short to take yourself too seriously. I mean, that's just I never understood that. I'm I'll be the first one to poke fun at myself. But that's just that. Oh no, what I was going to tell you, the only thing that I have to say about that kind of stuff, people are free to do whatever the hell they want to do. It's America. You can do
Right.
whatever you want to do, and I don't have to agree with what you're doing. But I have a choice. I can watch or I don't watch. That's it.
Right.
You know, the only problem that I have with that is when they do that with the intention to 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 call attention to themselves, but then they want to be the victim at the same time. That's where
Right.
I don't have tolerance for that,
Right.
because you know exactly well what you're doing,
Right.
and you know what you know the type of people you're going to attract. You know the comments that are coming, they're going to be coming at you because of what you're doing. But when you want to all of a sudden, oh, I'm being objectified. Well, no, you're not. You're the one that objectified yourself.
Right.
So don't
Exactly.
come crying now and be, oh, poor me, because you chose to do that. Nobody
Right.
told you to do that. That was a personal choice. That's the only time where I'll have something negative to say about that, is that if you don't have a problem with it, your family doesn't have a problem with it, why do I care?
Right.
I could care less. That's,
Yeah.
you guys are cool with it. That's fine. You're free to. You're in America. You're free to do whatever you want to do. Um, you know, I just choose not to watch it. That's all. It's that simple. I just choose not to watch it.
Right.
It comes up, I say no, thank you. Don't, not interested, and it goes
Right.
away. So I don't get it where people get all worked up about, oh yeah, this and that. It's like, oh, you don't have to watch it. You could choose not to watch it. Whether they're having all these subscribers or not, I could care less. I'm not in the competition of numbers. I'm in more in, like I said, going back to, I have more fun doing this the way I'm doing it. It's by my own guy. I'm not. There's so many videos. Do this, do that, and you'll get more. I don't care. I'm gonna do this the way I want to do it. I'm gonna be me, and what happens happens. And I'm also conscious that I'm in this for the long run. I'm not trying to find success overnight. If success comes my way, you know, I've got hopefully maybe another 40, 30 years left of me, so I'll continue to do it till then.
Right.
And who knows? But I'm not trying to, like you said, if you get caught in that whole numbers thing, it'll eat you up. It'll eat you up
Right.
and it'll spit you out. Unless
Right.
you're willing to dump, money into what you're doing, because you can do that. You can get to where you want to go, but it's going to cost you. It's going to cost you, whether you're paying for boosting your channel, for paying for content, like you were saying, buying steaks. That's all for content. You're going to spend money if that's what you want to do. That's fine. But
Right.
again, don't be the victim,
Right.
because it's not working out.
Stop buying food. In my case, it was stop buying food just to make videos.
Yeah.
You stock up. I've got a upright freezer in there. I got an upright freezer over here in the basement of the house. It was just chock full of stuff that eventually, there's so much of it in there, you don't eat it. And then it's like, God, more stuff just going to waste. If I could say, I see her name in here, Cheryl.
Hmm.
We were talking earlier about, how the fish community helps other people. Cheryl has been like my shoulder to lean on. She is a great person. She will always reply to your emails and help you whenever she can and make suggestions. And she'll let you know this is how I would do it. And I sort of kind of have my anchor tied off to her now because I believe in what she says. And it's like Stephen P. I believe in what he has to say. In the fish community. So, but she's a good person. I just saw her name. I just wanted to say I see you, Cheryl, and thank you. By the way, I sent you another email today.
Yeah. So
What's
yeah,
up,
no,
Mike?
I just, yeah, like I said, we really are very fortunate to have the community that we have. And even though it changes, because not everybody, I remember when I started uh, kind of participating, not necessarily doing content, but just as a viewer and stuff like that. Some people will come, some people will go. But the one common thing is the people that are here, for the most part, I would say for 99% of the people here, are people that are willing to help you out. They're whatever they can help you out, they will. Whatever information they might possess. Some of us have more, some of us have less. It doesn't matter, but they're not going to steer you in the wrong direction. They're not going to wish you failure. On the contrary, they want you to succeed.
Yeah.
And that is something that we're very fortunate that we have. And so, if you can't appreciate that, then I don't know, something wrong
Move
with you, I
on.
guess.
Move on.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I know it's kind of late where you're at. If people wanted to get a hold of you, I know you have your YouTube channel. What other media platforms out there that people can reach out to you? And just Funk
Uh,
says he only
I
helps me because
really,
I pay him.
I really don't do the Instagram thing anymore. I
Okay.
have a Facebook page. It's just under my name, but I really don't even. I share stuff on that, like this cancer event. I shared something on that for Lance Buell, LANCE is my
Oh,
Facebook
you didn't talk
page.
about that. You want you?
Well, if they go to my Facebook page, you'll actually see that. I don't have. I tried to bring up something on last night on live. We changed it over to that Streamlab, and whatever reason, it would not let me share. What's up, Jake or Katie? They wouldn't let
Hey,
me
Jake.
share the video, so I don't know if it would let me do it here or not. And this is your live, but I don't know how many of these people are in tech. Well, Mike, he's in Texas, I know, but um, so it's an event at a barbecue shop for a buddy that has been battling cancer. Lost his mom while he was battling cancer, so he's had a rough time of it. His channel is these are some of the towels we made up. Some towels and just shipped them to him last week for him to sell. Do whatever he wants to with them. Getting back in the screen here.
Here, let me get you big. I'm gonna switch it over to the main screen.
We did that towel. He's fighting throat cancer. So that's his logo we made up for the cancer. The boxing gloves, that color is supposed to represent throat cancer. So hopefully it does. But uh, yeah, NLA, he's Texas. But
Yeah,
I
Nilo
don't know.
Fauci.
Yeah, I've got a little video that I put up that I made. Jorge, I'm going to try and.
Hit the square in there that says share,
Yeah.
and find it, and I'll put it up here.
Um, share screen.
Kind of cabinet. I did a video on that last year. I'll put a link to that video.
It's not recognizing what I'm.
Do you what platform do you have that video on?
I did a video on that last year.
It's a
Is it on your-
folder that I saved on my
Oh,
laptop.
okay.
It won't let me open the folder, so it must be. Oh, it's blocked. It says it right there. It's blocked. So it's not going to let me do that for whatever reason.
Well, I'll tell you what. If you upload it as a short on your channel, I'll make sure to share it on my community so that people can see it.
Yeah, it's on that Facebook thing. I mean,
Oh, you have it on Facebook?
yeah, I'm a man.
Okay.
I'm not proud to admit it. I lost my mother-in-law to cancer, and when I saw Rick put out that video last week, I cried to see that man before, and to know him before, and to see him now, and to know what he's went through. And I knew, having flashbacks, what my mother-in-law went through. It touched me. I mean, it hit me hard. So, I made the towels up. I shipped them to. We did those nasty jelly bean thing, and it worked out great. I hope the thing for them this Saturday, the 31st, works out great for them too. So, but yeah, if you want to check the Facebook page out, it has the link
Okay,
to
I
the
found it.
GoFundMe. It has everything on there. The event
Okay,
scheduling.
I got it. Let me bring it up. Let me bring it up. Share screen.
It's like a 1 minute video I just threw together.
Let me go here. Make this large. What happened? Where'd it go?
You got it there. That's it.
Yeah, I'm trying to get it to become the full screen though.
Oh, okay.
If your backyard barbecue or even if your commercial
That's him today.
usage, did you?
So yeah, you caught the tail end of that
What
one.
happened? Did it play already?
Yeah, it went all the way through. Like I say, it's probably, I
Okay,
think it's a
here's the
minute
information.
long. That's the event right there. There's one
It's
that.
only showing 35 seconds.
Oh, is that right? They must have shortened it up for Facebook, maybe. I don't know. That's before and afters. I mean, you can see him there. I mean, he was a healthy guy, and that was not even a year ago. So to see him there and
Wow.
now, it just
Yeah,
really got me.
we have currently we have some members too that are fighting that same fight.
Yeah,
KJE Aquatics, Keith, and I know there's a couple other ones, but he's the one that um, that I'm familiar with. I think Michael's Fish Room too at one point was dealing with it. So you know, it sucks. It really does.
it does.
Uh, I'm pretty sure that from the chat they'll let me know who else I'm missing right now that's currently going through the same situation.
Oh, what's that one? Katie something other, Texas girl. She had that 19 years old. She just passed away 2 days ago of an aggressive brain cancer. 19 years old. So come on. It's just so sad. And like I said, when I saw Rick, and I've seen Rick before, but to actually see it side by side, I just had flashbacks. My mother-in-law living here with us for the 8 months, and to watch what she went through, and it hit me hard, you know.
Yeah. Kind of turned down the mood a little bit, but yeah, it's
Yeah.
understandable.
No, I'm
But
sorry.
no, it's okay. I mean, it's unfortunately this is life. You know, it's something that we have to deal with. You know, we lose people. Some we lose earlier than others, and um, but I guess that's what makes the moments that we do have that much more precious because we don't know when's the last one we're gonna have.
On a lighter note, these are the cupcakes that was for dinner last night. Surprise to
Oh, the
me.
ones you were talking about for the reveal.
Yeah, I found out
So,
yesterday I'm a grandfather again after 16 years.
oh, do you know
So
if you're having a grandson or a granddaughter?
no, do not. All I know it's going to be a Christmas baby. So around that
Nice.
time, beginning of Christmas. So, and I wanted to say something so bad last night in the live, but my daughter asked me not to because she hadn't told her in-laws yet. So I said,
Oh, okay.
okay. But I'm
Yeah,
spreading the
but
word today.
well, congratulations on that. I love them.
Thank
I
you.
have 4 grandkids and I love them to death. Uh,
Yeah.
I never understood my parents when they would talk about the grandkids at the time. When I would be like, "Why are you treating them so much different than us?
Yeah.
Us your kids." I get
Yeah.
it now. It's one of those things that you got to experience it. It's different. It's not that you don't love them more or less, but it's a different animal in itself.
Yeah.
So
No, I absolutely love I'll do it again. That's my oldest granddaughter right there. She rides horses. That's my oldest granddaughter.
yeah. Well,
I love it.
with that being said, thank you, Lance, so much. I appreciate you accepting the invitation and coming on. I hope
Anytime,
you had a
Jorge.
good time. I know I did.
I know I did. Definitely. Anytime. Anytime.
And for those of you who might still not be subscribed to Lance's channel, go check it out. And if it's something that you like, make sure you give him a sub. And with that being said, I want to thank every single one of you guys that was here tonight or this afternoon for us out here in the West Coast for being here. And we'll see you guys soon. I'm currently working. I don't have anybody scheduled yet. I am trying to work on some times and dates to coincide on that. But as soon as I find out and we agree on a time or date, I'll make sure that I post them. Try to give you guys at least a few days heads up so that if you want to join us, you can. With that being said, thank you guys. We'll see you guys soon. I guess the next time we'll see each other is I got to put together that the plug. There's like 7 different channels that I've recently come across, and one of them well, they're all good, but there's one guy that I think you guys will enjoy, and he's out of the I believe the San Francisco area. But I'll leave it at that.
I think those videos are a good thing, Jorge. I mean, like I say, that was the first videos of yours I saw, and there was so much respect behind that because I think highly of people that take the time to remember where they came from, and helping out other people. I just think it's fabulous. It's great, good stuff.
Thank you, Craig, for that. I really appreciate that. Yeah, no, like I said, it's just that one. My initial thought was I wanted to do videos, but because I know how much people enjoy the interaction in the chat, and I don't think I've seen anybody do that in a live stream. I said, I'm going to try something different, because also you're more inclined to go check them out while you're here, while you're watching it live, and the link is available to go check out those channels while you're listening and all that stuff. I know that again, these are all assumptions that I'm doing based off that I usually do. And so I figured, hey, if I enjoy doing that, I think some of the people that watch this will also enjoy it. But one of the things that I know is true of live streams, and I don't know if it's just particularly our community, but the interaction. If you watch any of my live streams, a lot of the conversation that is taking place in the chat has nothing to do with what we're talking about. It's just people connecting, people interacting, people joking around. It's just people living life. And so I know that's a big appeal of a lot of live streams, but I know in mine that seems to be the case where a lot of people just come out. It's an opportunity for them to hang out, an opportunity for get a laugh at my expense, which is I'm totally fine with that. And
Right.
and so that's why I decided to do that in a live format. I don't know how much of that people go back and watch the replays, but it's no different than what I do now. I mean, I get about the same amount of views on my replays as I do with these live streams. So until somebody says otherwise, or not somebody, I think until I decide that I don't want to do it because it's no longer enjoyable, which I don't foresee that happening, I'll continue to do it. I mean, I love being able to find these new channels and being able to share them with you guys, because I know not everybody has the opportunity to be sitting behind a computer all day and kind of surfing the internet in this case, and finding these. There's a lot of them that are out in on the other platforms too that I think I'll start kind of incorporating. But right now I haven't run out of channels here, so if it ever becomes a situation where I can't find anything new or relevant, then I'll start scouring the other platforms. But it seems everybody's here. Oh, Mike's here. I know you were. Mike's ears must have been buzzing.
Yeah.
He says that he's part of the replay crew. A lot of you guys are. I know
Well,
that if you can't be here, sorry.
Yeah, you'll have to watch now, Mike. You should have heard the stuff we were talking about you earlier, dude. Now he's got to watch.
Yeah. So it's I've been very blessed that most of the people that follow my channel, if they're not here for some reason on the live stream, they usually go back and watch the replay. So again, always grateful for that. And with that being said, thank you guys, and we'll see each other soon. If not here, we're definitely in the chat somewhere else. You guys have a good one.
Appreciate y'all.